Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another video here on the channel. This is a what I'm reading right now video, but we're covering the last 2 weeks because last week I was a little burned out. To tell the truth, I'm very much still in that burnout phase that I was in last week, but I promised a video and so I am delivering. It is just a very busy time of year. It's that time of year where people at work keep saying things like, oh yeah, we're winding down for the end of the year. And as somebody who has a lot of deadlines, like right when we're back in January, I just have to stare at them like, sure, things are very busy, life is very busy, but things are, broadly speaking, good. And I have 2 weeks worth of books to talk to you about, but honestly, I haven't read that much, so please just excuse the short video this week. It is what it is. First up, last week I finished the audiobook of City of Stairs. I really enjoyed this. I had a great time with it. I think it's a really good book. I'm excited to read the other two books post-Christmas time. I thought this was a really enjoyable fantasy series in a really interesting world, which I think is what Robert Jackson Bennett does really well, having read his other series, the Founders series. I think I like the Founders series more for just a few reasons. I think just the world clicks with me a bit more, but to be honest, at the start of the series, I can't necessarily say that for sure because there's 2 more books to go. But I really like bureaucratic kind of fantasy. I don't know if that's a subgenre of its own, but that's what I enjoy. I know I said that last week. Everything I said last week held up towards the end of the book. I thought it was just very enjoyable and a good time. FYI, if the lighting is really weird in this video, I'm filming this at the crack of dawn on Thursday morning. So just excuse that and the fact that my voice is going and we're just excuse. Please excuse. I did finish Animorphs 45, The Revelation. I was meant to film that last week. That didn't happen. I'm meant to film that this week. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I'm trying to be very gentle on myself as we move towards the end of the year. We'll see how we go. But yes, that was a book that I read. I finished Terrier, which is the first of the Becca Cooper books by Tamara Pierce. I like this. It got... did it get better towards the end? I don't know if it was a headspace thing or a tone thing. I don't think this was for me. I'm going to give the second book a chance, see if it works for me, and if not, I'm going to call it a day because I don't own book 3, and I don't really want to buy book 3 if I don't like book 2. We'll see. We'll see how we go. It wasn't really something that my brain was really able to wrap around in a weird way, which is so odd because the other Tamara Pierce books I've been wholly here for, so who knows. I continued my Brandon Sanderson project. I've actually read 2 things from Arcanum Unbounded. I'm not reading this in order. I might go back and do that again at the end, but at the moment I'm still working through, I think, publication order of things. So I read The Emperor's Soul, which is a short story novella that comes towards the start of this book. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was great. And then I read Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell, which I liked less. I think I just didn't enjoy the conceit of it as much, and knowing I think that it came from a horror anthology, that kind of makes sense. Overall, I think I stand by I like Brandon Sanderson's intriguing, puzzle-y books more than other books. I think that's what I'm learning in this project. But yes, both of those were good. Neither of them were bad, just one was better than the other. I finished Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I actually did the audiobook for this, which was definitely the right choice for me. I'm very much relying on audiobooks at the moment as my brain is just not equipped to sit and read for long periods of time. I'm just walking around reading things. I did, however, really enjoy this. I think if you want that quintessential YA, it's sort of YA new adult, oh no, maybe she's 16. I can't quite remember how old the main character is. Hot wizard boyfriend kind of thing. You know, it's great. But what I like about Margaret Rogerson's books is that she has an element of the spooky to it. Like there's this idea of the magical libraries filled with grimoires, and the grimoires are like fairly nasty. I like that this book, and Vespertine as well, can have that silly boyfriendy kind of time and also grimoires. I will read is it a sequel? It's a companion, I think, that's coming out in January, and I will probably read that because I feel like Margaret Rogerson is the level of YA that I currently want. After that, I read, not my first new release for January, but one of the early ones that I've read, The Daughters of Isdahar. I really enjoyed this. If you're excited about this book coming out, this is a recommendation from me. I thought this was really good fun. It was the kind of fantasy that I wanted in that it is set in a very, very patriarchal society that I believe is at least inspired by or possibly based on modern Egypt, but I can't quite remember. We have 2 characters, one of them wealthy, one of them not, both of whom kind of get caught up in the workings of the Daughters of Isdahar. They're a group in the city fighting for women's suffrage and women's rights generally, and it was really profound, really poignant, obviously, with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, and just a really enjoyable read as a whole, and managed to be triumphant while not dismissive of the problems that these things would face, and yeah, I had a good time. Also, elemental magic is always fun, so yeah, I'm really excited for the sequel for that, and now I have to wait a very long time for it. After that, I did another audiobook. This was of Redemption's Blade, which is the first book in the After the War series by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and I think the second one is by Justina Robson, but I'm not certain. I do have a copy of that. It's on my Kindle. I haven't started it yet. It's going to be a Christmas book for me, I think. I liked this. I think the concept is one that felt like it thought it was more novel than it was, if that makes sense. So the idea is that we follow a main character who was part of the group who killed this big dragon and basically overthrew the big bad at the end of the fantasy trilogy, essentially. But we start where that ends, and we're seeing the world start to be put back together, and how do we reconcile with kind of like the equivalent of the orcs, how are we working with them in the land, and what's the fallout from that, and things are still wrong after the end of the fantasy trilogy. And I think that the book felt like it was going like, wow, amazing, and I was like, have you ever played a D&D campaign? These are fairly familiar ideas that we go with, like, yes. I don't know, maybe I'm not giving enough credit, but I still thought it was very good. I found myself drifting off a bit towards the middle, which is something that I also found with City of Last Chances, so I don't know if that's just me and Adrian Tchaikovsky's fantasy not getting along, perhaps, I don't know, perhaps. But overall, I did enjoy it, and I will read the next one, and eventually I will read Tales of Cat and Fisher, which is why I'm reading these, so I can read that, because it's on my TBR and I'm a completionist. There we go, I said it. Is that really the last thing I finished? That's so depressing. Like 4 days ago, I finished Coffee Milk and Spider Silk by Coyote J.M. Edwards. I really liked this. Yeah, Coyote. I just have a weird accent. I really enjoyed this. I thought this was great. This is a short story. It's about, I think, 58 pages or something like that on Kindle. Asha recommended this to me. I'll link Asha below. You know I always do. And I just had a wonderful time. It's a really cozy, kind of Legends and Lattes adjacent. I think it came out first. In fact, I know it did. And yeah, a Dryder, which is like a half spider woman, wants to open a coffee shop. And there are some problems with that, but broadly speaking, it's just like, hey, you opened a coffee shop, and this is the book. And I had a wonderful time with it. It's a good cozy fantasy read if you want one of those to close out your year. I know a lot of people turn to shorter books towards this time of year because it's just good to get those TBR numbers down and so such. So if you're looking for something like that, I would recommend. Although if you're getting your TBR numbers down, you'd have to buy it, so I haven't marked anything as currently reading, but I am currently reading Seraphina. Finally, I got the audiobook. I'm just slowly listening to it on occasion. It's not a priority, and honestly, if my hold runs out in the library, I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm just going to move on with my life. But I am reading it. It is something that exists. Maybe I'll finish it before the end of the year. Then I still, this week, I'm supposed to read Salvation's Fire, which is that Justina Robson book. My camera battery might die, I apologise. And then I have Bloodhound and Mastiff and an Animorphs book. And honestly, the way my brain is right now, I'm not prioritising them. I'm not doing it. It's not a case of complete burnout, but I think it's headed that way, and I really want to finish the year strong, so I'm just giving my brain as much space as it needs to do other things, and prioritising audiobooks where I have them, and just having a good time, because after all, things that are my own TBR, there's not a deadline on them. They're not going off. They're not expiring. They're not eggs in the back of the fridge. It's fine. But the camera battery is dying, so I should probably close out before it conks out on me. What have you been reading? What have you been up to? How are you doing in this run up to the end of the year? You feeling good? You feeling like this? Please do let me know down in the comments below. I could use some solidarity. While you're down there commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord where we have chill chats about books. I'd like to thank all the ghosts who haunt me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, live streams, and bonus content. If you would like to join their number, that's linked below. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. It's gonna be some bloopers now. I finished Terrier by Becca Cooper. Nope.